Hey everybody, welcome to the Weekend Extra. Super excited to have you guys with us today. I'm Pastor Joe. This is Pastor Jeff, wrapping up our series, Good Goals, Bad Gods, talking about being stressed, which, if you didn't know, is dessert spelled backwards, which is an unhealthy way to handle your stress, but we'll get to that on some other time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well...
And I'm not sure I wanted to.
I am smart. SMRT. Okay, so here we go. Jeff, obviously great content. We need to really lean into God and all these things if we're really going to figure out how to become de-stressed. But there's some practical behaviors, some things that we can do to kind of jump into. We're maybe in different scenarios of life. What are some of the things that we can do? Let's say you're, maybe a parent of young kids, and you're just like, I just need another hour of sleep.
Yep.
Like, what are some of the things you can do in a practical way?
So when you're talking about like different roles that we're in, being a parent of young kids or teenagers or those kind of things, it's back to looking and saying, this is the path God has me on. And stress does not mean we're not tired, and stress does not mean that de-stress does not mean we do not bear burdens. So I would actually, there's a whole nother part of this conversation that we really didn't have in the auditorium this weekend that would say, as a Christ follower, what we would tend to say, we would say I'm stressed. Actually, what it is burden bearing. And it's actually the right thing to do. So when my kid is struggling, or my young child needs guidance, or my teenager needs correction, or my marriage needs work, just kind of put your role in it. My job as a Christ follower is actually to enter into that. If I have a friend that's struggling, my job as a Christ follower is to enter into it and get up under it, right? So that's back to where, like, my life going the way that I want it to go is actually not God's plan. And it's in the general principle that we're talking about this weekend, like, God's path is that you are a mom or you are a dad. God's path is you are a adult child of an elderly parent. Like, you carry those weights. So we would in our culture say we're stressed. And it's fine. It's not like it's sinful to say that. What we mean is we're tired, or we're fatigued, or we're scared. And God would say, right, I'm here for you in all those things, and I'm not taking them away. Like Heidi and I have 6 children, and we both joke about how we kind of don't remember our 30s. Like, I know they happened, but the labor intensity of small kids, the up all night, if one's not sick, the other one is, and then getting them into school and trying to do homework and all that kind of stuff, it is labor intensive, and it's the path God had me on. I resent it when I don't want to deal with what God gave me. Right? And that's where I'm like, my heart's out of line with God. So God never promises no fatigue. He never promises no burdens. He never promises no pain. And then we would lump all that together in our vernacular, and I would say God never promises no stress.
So what are some examples of the unhealthy things that maybe do stress us out? Like, so these burdens, what about the things that we let stress us? How do we start kind of shedding those things? Yeah,
so it just depends on your personality, right? So I'm always stressed about everything all the time. That's why Heidi calls me Sparky. So I'm always just a little bit mad all the time. So as like a personal example, I would be stressed because I'm tired and want to relax, but my kids need something. And so the temptation is ignore the kids or dump their needs on Heidi. So I'm not serving my kids, leading my kids. I'm not serving my wife like Christ would serve the church, right? So that's an example. So I'm stressed because I can't do what I want to do. You might call that me time. You might call that independence. Like, the kids are over me all the time, right? And we're stressed because we can't do what we want to do. That doesn't mean, like, probably most young families, like Heidi and I would tag team. She's like, you're in. And I would handle it for a while so she could go get a breather, right? Sure. We're not talking about not resting. I'm talking about deep down I resent the burden of doing that. And you play that out to its logical conclusions. It's why people dump their relationships, they dump their responsibilities so they can go do what they want to do. So it's just that kind of stuff. Like, it just depends on your personality. It could be I want free time. It could be I want more time with my kids. So I control my kids because they are what feeds me. They are what gives me my identity. So I never let them grow up. I'm the helicopter parent. You just kind of have to really dial it in, but always looking and saying, what is God's path for me as a mom or dad? What's God's path as me as a friend or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a member of a church and all those kind of things. And that's what I'm looking for.
That's great. I think this is, as you mentioned, this is going to be something that's kind of with us all the time, some version of it. And so it's just always healthy to go back to God whenever you're in those moments, processing it in your quiet time. Like, Lord, what is this season? What do I got to give and take? What do I got to realize? Just a part of the path. Don't let this conversation go. Something we always need to dive back into. Love it, Jeff. Thanks for sharing that stuff with us. Don't have too many desserts as you try to get off that stressed level. But we'll catch you next weekend for the Weekend Extra.